If you're looking to buy a house in San Diego in 2023, there is a lot of stuff you need to know, and there's a lot of mistakes you need to avoid. So that's what we're going to get into today. Whether you are a first-time home buyer or like a lot of people who are watching this channel relocating from somewhere else, all these are super important so that you are super prepared when you are ready to make that move here in San Diego. I'm Chris Erickson with the Beach Life Group. As always, thanks for tuning in. Love making these videos, but we're also real estate agents here in North County, San Diego. So if you are thinking about making that move, you got some questions, hit us up, call, text, email. We got your back when making the move here in North County, San Diego. One of the first mistakes to avoid is not understanding the process. A lot of people, the first thing they do is hop on Zillow, start looking at houses, which is super fun, and kind of getting that all dialed in and seeing kind of houses, which is really good, getting to know what you could get in different areas for different price points. But there's a lot of different phases in the home buying process, a lot of different things to know. There's a lot of people, a lot of moving parts. So understanding that entire process, obviously you can hop on YouTube like you're doing right now and learn kind of the base of what you need to know. But since every situation's different, I think one super important thing, even if you are a first-time home buyer and even if you've purchased before, kind of get a refresher of what's going on, because a lot of people only do this a few times through their lives. So with 5, 7, 10 years ago that you actually purchased a home, things might have changed. If you're coming from a different state, like relocating from somewhere else, it might be a different process out here. But one thing I think is super important as you're going through and figuring out this process is getting your team in place early, whether you're 6, 9, 12 months out or even longer. Finding a lender, either you have one already or we could hook you up with one, and getting your agent in line. The lender is going to get you dialed in on payments and what you can afford and what you're comfortable with, and kind of go through a few questions and kind of see what is going to work for you. Maybe you're pre-approved up to $1 million, but your payment is going to actually put you in a comfort level of like an $800,000 house. Well, that'll all be figured out. So then you're not looking at houses that are out of your budget that you're comfortable with. So your lender is a super important piece and kind of the number person in this game to kind of get that first part dialed in. Even before you start looking at houses, you get a lot of this paperwork and all that kind of stuff done up front. So it's a little less stress. And when you actually go through the next phase of the home buying process, you are all set on that. The other important piece is going to be your agent. Now, we have buyer's guides and stuff like that. If you want something, just drop a comment below to run you through that process. But every situation is different. Every person's different, kind of what they're doing. Do you have to sell your house where you're coming from? Is your first time buying a home out here? What's all involved? How do you write an offer? How do you negotiate? How do you negotiate repairs? How do you even go about looking at houses? So for our relocation clients out there, we do a lot of virtual tours. Like if you can't make it out here, if the market is moving pretty quickly, if homes are selling pretty quickly, how do you get in those homes to make sure you get your eyes on them? And kind of if you do need to make an offer quickly, you can do that. So once you get your team assembled, your lender and your agent, they're going to be your guides through the entire process to answer all your questions. There could be like 1,000 questions that come up. If you have somebody that you could just hit up and be like, hey, something simple, you don't have to go and watch an entire YouTube video, that might be the way to go. So get your team in place is step number one. The second mistake we see a lot is you have your team in place, but you're not utilizing your team. You're not leaning on your team. You're not asking them all the questions. Instead, you're hopping online. You're trying to figure it out yourself, where maybe it's just a quick text to your agent or your lender to figure out that question. Once you have these people in place, jump in and really pick their brains about anything coming up. So as I mentioned, there's a bunch of different phases to the home buying process. So we might have been guiding you through this one. This one's coming up. You might start having some questions about kind of what's coming next. What is escrow? I mean, there's just even terms that we use as real estate agents, we might throw them out. We try to simplify it and kind of get all that explained for clients, but sometimes it doesn't happen and you have questions. So just hit your people up, email, text, call, whatever is easiest for you. Make sure you lean on them. And even if you need like a longer conversation, hop on a Zoom call with them and get all your questions answered all at once. Maybe it's about a neighborhood. Maybe it's about a specific house. Maybe it's about the price of a house for the lending side. Maybe it's about kind of where interest rates are. That's a thing too. Like interest rates are different for every single client. Well, maybe not every single client, but different situations, your interest rate's going to be different, whether you're putting 5% down, whether you're putting 20% down, whether you're self-employed, whether it's an investment property. So the rates you see on TV and stuff and in the headlines is not necessarily going to be your rate. So those will be questions that you can ask, and definitely lean on your team as you're going through the process so that you're comfortable. And the third mistake a lot of like first-time home buyers make is looking beyond their budget. So you might have a number in your head. I want a $900,000 house. I'm going to start looking at $900,000 houses. Then you start seeing $1 million houses. Then you might go up to 101. I am guilty of it too. We're kind of in the phase of our life where we're potentially looking to make a move as well. And we're probably looking at houses a little bit above our budget as well. It's just human nature, but get realistic on your numbers. Your lender, like I said, will dial these in for you. Make sure you have all the information for your monthly payment, including the principal, the interest, the taxes, the insurance. If you have an HOA, that's going to be a monthly expense. If you have put less than 20% down, you're going to have something called mortgage insurance. So even though you are pre-approved to a certain amount, it doesn't necessarily mean you need to spend that amount. Go work backwards and kind of see where the interest rates are right now and what the payment would look like at a specific offer price that you're going to make, and make sure it includes all that stuff. And like I said, if you have a good lender, they'll do all that for you. So then you get a really good picture and a really good idea of what the monthly payment might be, because obviously the price is super important, because long-term you want appreciation. You don't want to overpay, but also you're going to live in that monthly payment. And this might be different for different markets. If it's a little bit slower market, which we're not in right now, but if it was, you might be able to look at homes a little bit above your budget or a little bit above your comfort level, because maybe the homes are sitting a little bit longer and they're going for a little bit under the list price. Right now, since there's not a ton of homes on the market, especially in that starter price point, a lot of homes are getting multiple offers going for above ask price. So a lot of it's going to be market dependent, what's going on in the neighborhoods you are searching and what's actually happening, boots on the ground at that time, how's the actual market. But for all that information, just go back to your team and lean on them. The fourth mistake to avoid is going to be purchasing for the short term. If that's your plan, maybe 1, 2, 3 years, it might not be ideal. If you have that 5, 7, 10-year mindset, as with a lot of investments, that is the better mindset to have, especially right now. You know, anything could happen in the short term, volatility, prices up, prices down, interest rates up, interest rates down. But over that long term, historically, it has always been a good bet. And then, like I said, obviously you also get to live there. So you're not paying rent. You are basically having a forced savings plan. That's kind of like what a house is a forced savings plan. Even if it was flat for the entire time, you are still paying off your house, your principal, every single year. Within the first few years, that's another thing. A lot of that payment is going to be interest. So the longer you stay in it, the more principal you're paying off over time, building more equity, and just having that long-term mindset is usually always ideal. And if you're like an investor or something looking to get into the flipping game, once again, it's going to be a very difficult time. So if you're well seasoned, obviously that's a different story. The fifth mistake to avoid is buying because of the hype. Especially over these past few years, the market has gone crazy. There are a ton of buyers in the market. And I think some of them definitely have some buyer's remorse, where they got into the market, they got caught up in the frenzy, and now they are kind of thinking, you know what? I don't like where I live. I don't like this house. I don't like this neighborhood, whatever it might be. Even though these past few months, I have seen houses that have sold in, let's say 2021, that are coming back on the market, where people will maybe come out even because there had been some appreciation since then, but still they weren't happy with the move. They got caught up in potentially, you know, the FOMO of the market. They didn't want to miss out. Their friends got a place, they got a place. You can think about your own situation. Where are you down payment wise? Where are you in life? Where is going to be the best spot for you? Is now the time for you to relocate to San Diego? Make sure it makes sense for you and your family. And it's kind of that long-term plan where you're going to move here, be comfortable, start your life, and be happy here in San Diego. So if you guys are thinking about making the move, you got some more questions. Like I mentioned, we're the Beach Life Group right here in North County, San Diego. So be sure to book your discovery call, have that conversation, start building your team. We got your back when making the move here in North County, San Diego.